us? Okay.
All right, here we are. Welcome to Foiling Week 2020 and the Gurrit Forum. I'm your host, Chris Museler. You should know that by now if you're watching and sharing on someone like Andrew Pindar's Facebook watch party. My co-host, speaking of which, is Andrew Pindar coming from Lago di Garda and Bruno Gintoli. And today's topic is, we had a big range. We were talking about beach foiling and wing foiling culture this morning. And then we were talking to Manny Freres, who's actually a kite surfer in Lago di Garda right now, the yacht designer, the famous yacht designer, about large yacht hydrofoils. And now we're back down to really tiny, probably the thinnest hydrofoils that are created today, which are the kite racing hydrofoils. And we're going to see what we've learned from these championship winning foils and where those lessons and tools and analytical approaches can be used other places in the foiling world. So right now we're going to be talking about the Chubanga version 3 kite foil, which is currently the European champs with the Frenchman Axel Menzel and probably other successes. We have Luca and Charles and Simone from this project. And maybe introduce yourselves, because I don't pronounce last names super well. I have to work on it. But maybe, Luca, if you can introduce your name, Simone, and then Charles.
So, Luca.
Yes. Hi. Niente, sono Luca Filippi, Chubanga, parliamo del kite. Io realizzo kite, foil per il kite. Abbiamo fatto vari prototipi per wing, per wind, ma mi sono dedicato principalmente al kite. Lo studio di progettazione mi avvalgo della consulenza di Simone Bartesaghi e Charles, che collabora con lui. E abbiamo realizzato come ultimo progetto insieme, abbiamo fatto il V3, che è il foil realizzato per competere nella campagna olimpica, praticamente uno dei foil registrati. Siamo una decina di marchi che possiamo partecipare ai giochi 2024 di Parigi. Vai Simone, introduci.
Okay, so I'm translating for the audience. So Luca Filippi is the managing director of Chubanga, and I'm Simone Bartesaghi. I'm working with Charles Dhainaut on the design side for the Chubanga V3. Luca is mainly doing kite foil stuff, and he achieved the result of have a signature of the ICA system for the Olympic Games, for the next Olympic Games. So Luca is the mainly builder of the kite foil, and he would like to do other stuff, but mainly is focused on the kite stuff. About us, we are consultancy engineering studio, Fluid for Engineering, that we are doing mainly CFD, computational fluid dynamics, for large boat, motor and sailing boat. We did in the past consultancy and working for America's Cup campaign and Volvo Ocean races. Now we are focusing on the kite foil stuff because it is a new challenge, and we had the opportunity to work with Luca on Chubanga developing the new foil for the Olympic Games, and we achieved a good result right now. We are quite happy about that. So, okay.
Awesome. And Charles?
Yeah, so as Simone was saying, I'm Charles Dhainaut, and I started to work with Simone about 1 year ago, and just starting with the Chubanga, the new Chubanga, because Luca had one design which was working already quite well, but we needed to find something even better to be sure to be in very good position for the next Olympics. And I started to help Simone on doing the new tools to generate the shapes, to analyze them. And yeah, that started about 1 year ago. And since that, we worked on other projects together related to hydrodynamics, wings, foils, and everything. Yeah.
Awesome. And I've been starting out these panel discussions by getting some input from my co-hosts, and largely from Andrew Pindar, just because he's been alive the longest. But but the most important thing with our co-host today is we have Bruno, who's Bruno. Bruno is a young designer, and he's also into small hydrofoils. So Bruno, just, when we talk about the Olympic Games, there's going to be hydrofoil racing, in this case, mixed. So male and female relay races. Right now it's course racing for the IKA and World Sailing. And that's how these hydrofoils are developed. But it's really exciting to see kite foils have been really developing strong racing. They went from formula, kite boards to now just straight into the foiling because it's just so efficient. Bruno, what's on your mind when you see these people developing hydrofoils for the Olympics? Where does your mind go?
It's awesome. A couple of years ago, I was not really thinking of kiting the Olympics was a bit mind-blowing. And when we had this mixed, for the kids, for the young Olympic Games, we had this mixed races with convertible boat nil ride. It was already a step forward, and now that it's actually accepted. Actually, my question would go towards like mostly when I saw the results, selection of foils that we're getting into the Olympics. Surprised that one of the other main instructors was not into. So if you guys can comment on that experience, what it was to kind of for that Olympics, and how do you deal with that experience?
Did you guys capture that? What the experience was like for getting, Bruno, correct me if I'm wrong, but getting this your foil design selected for Olympic approval, Olympic equipment approval, the process.
So so we start doing initial possible shapes of the foil using our tools. We got the targets from Luca. Luca would like to have some targets about the design, about the dimension, about the lift, that the foil will produce in different conditions, and we were working around that. So after that, of course, we had the ideal hydrodynamic surfaces, and the next step was to put in a 3D CAD and to build it. So Luca was really good to build it and maintain the original shape, because the process to enter in the circus was really tight, and we got a measurement system, and we developed the system to measure it according to the rule. So think about that. We are in a range of 1 millimeter of tolerance, about I don't know, the angle of attack of the main wing and the rear stabilizer. So okay, the design, the 3D, that is ideal, this is perfect. Then there is also the building part. So process was done, let's say, 6 months of research and development, then same time to fix the production side. So molds, fixing the procedures, and then the last part was the measurement system. So that was the picture.
And the second part of the question would be, do you have any entity validating your quality? Because by some other Olympian in windsurfing previous to the RSX, where the stiffness of the materials, mass fins, where even if they were one design, not really one design. Do you have any entity that is validating your products before the get
Luca,
those places?
Non ho capito niente.
Luca,
non sento molto male.
sta chiedendo se hai qualcuno che ha validato il prodotto prima di registrarlo, prima di...
Purtroppo abbiamo avuto vari problemi. Ho fatto i primi prototipi a novembre e ho usato uno stampo in epossidico anziché in fibra di carbonio, anziché in alluminio, per risparmiare, visto che i primi stampi sono tanti, al primo pezzo prodotto dovevo farne una piccola serie di 6 con vari angoli diversi, al primo pezzo è esploso gli stampi.
Okay, let me translate. So Luca is saying that at the first step, he had some problem about the production because also of the condition, the pandemic condition. You know, we were in the pandemic condition, so he started with an epoxy mold to produce the first series of prototype with different relative angle, according to our desired design better.
In November.
It was November was starting, but it was in March. So
I started in November. I made the first, but I broken immediately in the first mold. I broke the mold. I have 1 week of test scheduled in Tarifa. I go in Tarifa with only one, and this completely different from the definitive one. The front wing is 1.5 millimeters thicker, the fuselage 3 millimeters bigger. But this first prototype is very, very fast, completely different from the old V2. And I restart with the new mold. But when you order the new mold, I need too many time for worker, for all material, find the material, and I have already at the end of January, I start the test in February, and I make only 3 days of test, and after the COVID closed all. Mm-hmm. And for me, the last days for the last day for the registration is the 1st of May, without any test. Is incognito.
Yeah, we were a bit worried about that because the V3 design was a bit different for the V2 design. In particular, not for the stabilizer, but for the main wing and a bit for the relative angle. So we were sure about what we are looking at the numbers on our computers, but you know, on water is another game, no? And of course, doing test would be a good one to have a good feedback and tune the design. In this case, was not possible, and was a kind of a bet. You know.
Yeah. Great. Thanks.
I have a question about the kind of the practical differences between any of the kite foil racing shapes. So, you know, Axel won the European Championships this year on version 3 Chubanga foil, right?
Yeah.
And so as far as his competition goes, obviously there's a lot in it with the individual, right? Especially when you have an individual attached to a kite, attached to a board, to a foil underwater. There's lots of flexibility there. But can you give me some differences between the Chubanga foil and the 2nd place foil and the 3rd place foil at the European Champs?
Okay. So I think there are many different options, but I think the designs have more or less converged now because it's been almost 10 years that kite foil exists. I mean, kite racing foil.
Yeah.
And back in the days, you had plenty of different designs, but now the differences are getting smaller and smaller between each design. So obviously you have differences, but if you look at our main competitors, they have made choices of maybe more span in the main wing, more flat area, so which is, I think, more efficient for a very high speed. But it's also a bit more unstable, and upwind also you need to. It's difficult when you have too much span because you're going to pierce the free surface sooner. Right. And we made the choice to not to go too extreme, like to keep things simple, and also when the main target was to be at least as fast as the competitors or even a bit faster, but mostly more comfortable, because that's the main thing. When the guys are sailing more than 35 knots average, they need to be confident with the foil, and not to think about how to be stable on the foil. They need to be really comfortable and to rely on to trust their equipment. And I think that what Axel liked about the foil, our Chubanga, is that the difference of speed compared to the competitors is it's faster or the same, depending upwind or downwind. But it's just more, it's easy. It's an easy foil, and that's very important for the competitors.
Can you guys bring up a picture of it? And then I have a question about Charles's comment. So maybe if we can grab either from Simone, from your presentation, we do a share screen.
What, a picture of Chubanga or something different?
Of the actual foil.
Of the actual foil, okay.
Yeah, cool, that would be great. Because what I want to do, I mean, these, to the average observer, the actual wings of the foils are super thin, super flat, you know, and really, really wide, right? And we know that from like the Go foil that I had from Alex Aguera for my kite foil board, it was bent, the tips were bent down for more stability. So maybe maybe you can point out to me what the, if we can see visually, what the user-friendly aspects of the design are, you know?
Can you see it?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so
Charles, maybe walk us through some of the... No?
So what to say? We had in mind a lift distribution to put on the main wing and on a stabilizer.
Right.
And we were trying to reach that lift distribution. It was not the theoretical one, because everybody would try to have a kind of lift distribution, but we had in mind a different lift distribution to with the idea to have more tolerant foil about the ventilation, of course, because when you pierce the surface, the free surface, you can have ventilation, and then you can lose a lot of lift and have a drag. So a good point is the shape of the main wing, and of course the kind of section we use on that, because of course they are not the same section over all the span. Right. Then I think the stabilizer is also a new shape respect the V2 with a new plan for the winglet, of course, to maintain the directional stability. That's it. Nothing too much complex on that. But to me, the main goal was to work on the front wing to reach our desired lift distribution. That's the point. Right, Charles, if you would like to add something more?
No, I mean, from what you said, Chris, I mean, from our perspective, the surf foils and the wind foils looks huge.
Yeah.
Because we are used to these foils, and already for us it's not that small. But and if you look at our competitors, some of them really work with very, very flat wings, and that's really impressive. But yeah, it's just a different point of view, I guess.
Right. And what have you learned about mitigating or stopping ventilation during racing that, you know, that other foil designers can use? You know, like what, you know, I know Simone was talking about all the tools that you have to analyze performance and design. What tools are you using to analyze ventilation?
The ride only.
Yeah, so let's say we are using, share with you, it's coming from the last year presentation. We already know that we are using computational fluid dynamics to check the possibility of ventilation. But of course, Luca said the only on-water test will tell you what's going on, to be fair.
Right. And what are we looking at here with that angle of the light blue, for lack of a better way to say it?
Sorry, where?
So in those images?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So the tail ventilation. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
The tail ventilation is coming when the pressure system goes in contact with the atmospherical pressure.
Yep.
So there is a connection between the air outside the free surface and the system generated by the presence of the surface piercing foil. So you can have a kind of ventilation, so the air can go through the tail of the mast and then produce a kind of loss of lift and huge drag amount. So that's called a tail ventilation, of course.
So a question for you from the America's Cup, their foils, and maybe this is just a different application, they're having that kind of cone at the tip of their foil. And sometimes on rudders and then certainly on the main foil on the AC75s, how come we're not seeing that little nose coming out of the front foils on kite foils?
You mean the sort of rocket that prevents
exactly.
levitation?
How come we don't see that?
Well, it's because we go where the riders are going very fast, but not fast enough to have problems of cavitation at the intersection between the fuselage and the main wing.
Okay.
So we don't need to have this nose to move toward the maximum pressure points.
Okay.
So that's the point.
Awesome. Well, let's move into the VMG conversation. So let's get out of the kind of technical aspects of the design, although we'll always go back to that. What are the speeds and VMG for everyone right now going upwind and downwind?
So the maximum speed reached was around 42 knots.
Like during a race?
During a race, 37, 38 maximum.
Okay, for racing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you're designing around those numbers. And Joe, you want to go faster?
Yeah, no, we are looking at different velocities. So, okay, the top one, but we are looking also the average one, because in my point of view, you can win the regatta not pointing at the top speed, but to be the best in average speed. Right. So you have to be good on upwind and downwind and have a good angle. Right. So you have to reach faster the mark. And it's not good to me to have the fastest foil, but without angle. Right. So we had to have a design compromise between the top speed and, of course, again, lift distribution of the wings to be sure about some angles, upwind, of course.
What's more limiting right now to upwind VMG, the foil or the wing? I mean, I'm sorry, the kite or the foil?
Good question.
Qual è la VMG reale? Non lo so. The upwind speed normally is about to 21 to 25 knots, with very little angle upwind. It's not like coming too much upwind. I don't know really VMG. I don't ever see the VMG charts.
I think it's around 20 knots VMG maximum upwind. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't have exact values in mind, but sorry.
Yeah, but if the kite got better to get you closer to the wind, the foil wouldn't hold that back, right?
Yeah, and the problem, the limiting factor, I guess, at least for the foil, is the free surface piercing, because if you want to make more angle, you're going to heel back even more, which is going to make the foil pierce the free surface, and that's very hard to sail above this point. So I don't know. In the future, what we can do to gain a bit more angle, or maybe the solution would be, we don't know exactly if it's best to go with less angle but much faster upwind, for example. So with more span, or with less span but more angle and less speed. So that's a difficult compromise to find.
Right. So we're talking about limits right now. Did someone have something? Is that you, Bruno?
I had a question. How do you deal with the riders? Because ultimately, I don't know if you get to try your I would say toys.
I
I don't hear you.
Yes, we missed the last part.
Yeah,
Okay.
Repeat the question.
How do you manage with the riders, with the athletes, on balancing this upwind downwind ratio? It's the riders asking you that they would like to go faster upwind, faster downwind, but they want more stability going downwind. And
So the riders would like to be faster upwind, faster downwind, and super stable. And also Luca would like to have a fight that will be the best one, upwind, downwind, and the stable as possible, not as much stable as possible. But in every field, also in America's Cup, also you have a box rule. No, for example, you cannot be the best everywhere, so you have to make compromise. No, so in general, we have some feedbacks from the athlete. The first feedback is always the foot pressure related to the sensation of stability. So if they have a good sensation about the foot pressure, the balance of the foot pressure, it means that you are going in the right direction. So we are trying to look at our numbers related to that sensation. So unfortunately, we have not data on water about this kind of sensation. So we are trying to do an interpretation of what the rider are saying to us. That's the point. Or no, Luca?
Sì.
Yeah, and sometimes the riders they feel that they go slower because they are more stable. Because if it's too stable, they don't have the impression to go super fast. So that's the problem.
Right. And you're measuring, at least you're measuring GPS speeds and VMG through that as well?
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. Because at these speeds, you can't rely only on the feelings of the athletes. It's not possible.
But so much is relying upon their feelings for other things. So let's move into big picture stuff. Andrew, I know you said your ignorance is in this topic and this technical can be challenging, but we do know that with I watched a Waterlust film online. You guys can look at it. They were comparing the VMG of a moth, an M32 catamaran, and a kite foil, and the kite foil just went like off the charts, upwind, higher, faster, all the way around. When we talk about the speeds that they're reaching, and then talking about the Olympics, Andrew, this seems like a small corner, but also can be it's been around for 10 years, this racing. Where do you think kite foils, like at this high end, fit in the world of sailing in your mind?
Yeah, I listen to too many broadcasts and podcasts and everything else probably, but I have a worry that the governance and the committees of world sailing are not still seeing the opportunities this has for the sport of sailing. And you get a lot of people of my sort of age and even younger who seem to be living in world-class denial. They say that this isn't sailing, and I put my head in my hands. Of course, this is the future, and it's almost as though they want to go back to standing on a tree trunk with a cloth in the air. I was drawing a comparison here in my mind about what these great engineers that are on this call now are achieving this sport. And I was looking at my iPhone, and as a user, I just love what my iPhone or an Android would do in this day and age. I need the usability of it. And I think that what the engineers, it took brilliance in engineering skill and computer skill, design engineers to create an iPhone. And I think that what these engineers are doing here is creating something. All this incredible research and study and the testing and everything else, choice of materials, the looking at stability, looking at optimization. That is what work you're doing, guys. Is that can go on to allow people to go and have a fantastic time on the water. And one of the things that Manny Freres was saying in our last session was the importance of allowing participation of smaller people, and me, one of them, I'm small, allowing technology here which allows women to participate alongside the guys. This isn't just having to be a big heavy boat, a heavy fin or something. So I think that what you're doing is quite fascinating for me because it has the application. That's really where I'm drawing the parallel between what you're doing and what the iPhone has done for communication.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and you're right, because if we didn't have this much attention and something causing this much attention, events, the professional series, the IKA, and now the Olympics, we wouldn't have all these great designers and manufacturers putting all this effort in. Now, we have only about 4 minutes left. So what I wanted to do is to wrap this conversation up and moving into the future. This group of us talked about earlier that, and we were talking about Bruno Andre, so from Foil Company, Foil & Co., that he told me last year, 2 years ago, that this standard configuration of the mast, fuselage, large front wing, small back wing, we've been using that since, the earlier days of the 80s and 90s of developing board sport hydrofoiling. So what are the limits to the top end speeds and VMGs? And what do you guys think can be done? Why can we do more than just these shapes and this configuration that we have in the future? And maybe bring up that picture, Bruno, of that O-wing that we were talking about.
So one point for me is we have to think out of the box now, because if you look at the foils, registered foil, if you look far away, they look like similar because they have main wing, stabilizer, mast, and fuselage. Now I think it's time, and we have time to think about out of the box. So we can try extreme configuration like the one on the picture shared here. Yep. I don't know if it work or not, but of course it's something to have a look and understand what is the real potentiality of the design. So that's my point. I don't know, Charles or Luca, what they're thinking about.
Yeah, when you look at this picture, what does it make you think about for the future? And do you have any other ideas?
Well, the point also, in my point of view, is that it's as we said earlier, it's a very young sport, and the designs are evolving along with the level of the athletes. So, for example, the foils that we are doing now, they wouldn't have been saleable like a few years ago because the athletes didn't have the level to sail with it.
Right.
And that's also happening during the test. Like, for example, when we tested the foils with Mario, we tested something and he said, okay, that's a bit too unstable. And now he's pushing for the foil to be more unstable, to go faster.
Right.
Because in a few months he trained with it. He trained with it for a few months and then it's really comfortable. So the question is also what the level the athletes are going to achieve, and then maybe in a few years we will not need the stabilizer anymore. We don't know, but that's obviously, for example, if in the best world we wouldn't have the mast because the mast in our design is not really useful. It's not creating any lift. So. Right. So if we can have a magnetic field or a Bluetooth connection between the main wing and the board, it would be ideal. But who knows?
Well, that brings up, someone was talking at the first U.S. Foiling Week about Dirk Kramers, who actually is one of our next forum, persons. He was talking about resistance foils, where a foil is pulling down, and then the rider's hooked to the foil, and then hooked to the kite in the air, and you're airborne.
Yeah, that could be a solution as well, but.
I've never thought about the magnetic connection between the foil and the board. You laugh. Maybe we'll do it. Robbie Nash was on. He'll give it a shot. And anyone on this morning's call will give it a shot.
Yeah.
So, Luca, we'll give you the final word. What do you see in the future? Are you willing to take the risk of doing something different than just the front wing stabilizer and mast?
Mi piacerebbe, I talk in Italian.
Yeah.
Simone, mi piaceva dirgli di quando Giorgio mi ha chiesto di togliere la fusoliera sotto l'ala perché dava fastidio.
Ok, Luca, dopo ti chiedeva se hai intenzione di fare qualcosa di estremo come prototipo. So Luca was talking about the V2 design was done in partnership with Giorgio Provinciali. He's another great designer. You know the name. He's working in America's Cup right now. At that time, we were looking at extreme solution, and one solution on designer perspective was to avoid the fuselage connection from main wing and have a clear main wing, without the fuselage connection. Of course, could be a good solution because you increase the efficiency, but you have a structural problem. So that's the point. So it's not as a compromise. So
it's
Luca,
extremely compromised. About the extreme foil, it's my dream to make a foil to out for up of 15 knots. I probably make another prototype, and I open this come si dice, questa sfida.
the challenge.
This challenge, is my dream.
So the Luca challenge is to produce a speed foil to reach more than 50 knots. So there we will face up the cavitation problem, of course. We'll see.
Are you sure you'll find a rider willing to ride it?
I have different riders require me every day. I need foil for top speed. I need a lot of time to make the prototype. Also, I pay a lot of money for mold for all, and I don't sell nothing of this. It's only a challenge.
Cool. Awesome. Well, Bruno and Andrew, do you guys have any closing words?
Well, I've always been a water skier, and when he was talking about the maximum speed of these things, it frightens me because if I'm going full tilt behind my speedboats and I fall off, it hurts. So I'm hoping that Chris Hill at Spinlock is finding plenty of the protective gear for these athletes to go sailing with, because it's going to hurt hard when you're falling off of that speed.
That's true. Well, that's fantastic. Charles, Luca, Simone, thank you so much for sharing this. We're really excited to see, as the pandemic goes away, we're excited to see your foils in the racing season ahead. So keep us updated on the new designs and the development, particularly Luca for the speed. Let us know what that looks like. And Bruno, thank you for bringing in your expertise and curiosity. And Andrew, thank you too. So we've got just one or two more left today. And we're going to be talking to some designers about a full range of catamarans and multi-hulls and moth developments and foiling power boats in our next discussion coming up. So thank you so much. Thank you for talking about kite foil racing with me, everyone. And I hope you get out on the water. And please, on all of your feeds, please share our Foiling Week YouTube and Facebook, and we'll tag you guys. And so thanks so much for your help today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.
Ciao, guys. Go fast.